Do it for the cheesesteak. They're worth it. Cheesesteaks. Cheesesteak. 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 Philadelphia. I may be a New Yorker, but I was born and raised in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so Philadelphia will always have a special place in my heart. If you're visiting the East Coast, do yourself a favor and take a bus over to Philadelphia. There's no other place like it with its history, art, culture, and the scrappy way about the people who live there. Their most famous export, aside from Rocky himself, I'll fight Rocky, so what? Yes, is the cheesesteak. It's composed of bread, steak cut and prepared in various different ways, and cheese in either whiz form or slices. The pros order their cheesesteaks wit, which means with onions. I ate the 5 best and most famous cheesesteaks in one day, and wow, they were totally different experiences. Stay to the end to hear my favorite cheesesteak in all of Philadelphia, and let me know why you hate my decision. What are you gonna do, throw a snowball at me in the comments section? You would cry to your mother. Also, let me know which one's your favorite, which one did I miss, which one do I have to try next. Pat's King of Steaks. Some locals say it's overrated. Others say you're an asshole. All I know is that I had to find out for myself. It was my first stop on Cheesesteak Corner down in South Philadelphia, and of course it was. They hold the distinction as being the creator of the Philly cheesesteak. So whether you love them or if you hate them, we have to pay tribute to Pat's for being the reason that the cheesesteak and this video even exist in the first place. I got my first cheesesteak of the day with onions and with American cheese. Now, I was never a big fan of Cheese Whiz, so I decided I would save myself the trouble and just get the American cheese. Nah, I don't want to throw too much shade. I mean, we love everybody here, right? No! Despite there being no line when I came by, my cheesesteak came out so quick that it definitely made me raise an eyebrow about how fresh this sandwich was going to be. The American cheese was just laid on top of the bread, and the meat and the onions were placed on top of that. The cheese underneath wasn't even a little bit melted. The bread and the meat were mostly fine. I liked how the meat was cut. The bread was fairly soft with a little bit of a crunch on the outside. On the whole, it was more a fun historical experience than anything else. GENO'S Steaks. Right across the street from Pat's King of Steaks is GENO'S. I like imagining that these two shops pretend that they hate each other, but in reality, they're in love. GENO'S supposedly came up with the idea to add cheese to Pat's steak sandwich. So in a way, they are both jointly responsible for the cheese steak. Unlike Pat's though, GENO'S does not take card payment, so come prepared with cash in hand. I like this a lot better than Pat's. It was easily the greasiest sandwich of the day, which is saying something. When I first opened it up, it just kind of like dripped a bunch, which was pretty messy. The meat was in really large and thick slices, and the bread was pretty soft, which didn't work in tandem super well with how greasy the meat was. I went with the Cheese Whiz this time after being scarred by the unmelted cheese at Pat's, and I was really grateful that I did. Also, they had this creepy doll. Tourism. I put some steps in from there, wandering through City Hall and the Reading Terminal Market, which is where I met up with my friend Gabby. We would go together from there all the way over to Independence Hall, where we would take a look at the Liberty Bell and marvel at the size of its crack. Tony and Nick's Steaks. Ready for the tea? You might have heard of Tony Luke, but what you might not know is that the original Tony Luke's location is now known as Tony and Nick's. Apparently, there are lawsuits between family members after the original father and son owners were found guilty of tax evasion. Drama. All internal conflicts aside, this cheesesteak definitely feels like a step up from the previous two. It had great bread with a really nice consistency. The Cheese Whiz was good, but if I had one tiny bone to pick, it's that it was a little bit too salty for me. The meat was great, really well prepared, and the onions were plentiful and delicious as well. Gabby gave this cheesesteak 3.5 out of 5 stars. John's Roast from Tony and Nick's, we booked it over to John's because they close promptly at 5 o'clock p.m. They're also closed on Sundays and Mondays, so good luck if you work a 9 to 5. They don't do Cheese Whiz here, which made me nervous after the flop back at Pat's, but it was okay because here they do American cheese right. I mean, look at this thing. It has a seeded bun. Who else is doing that? The meat is super thick. It was actually so thick it was kind of stringy, but I didn't mind that at all because I just got the impression that it was super high quality. The onions and the cheese were fantastic. The whole thing kind of had a smoky flavor to it, which I wasn't expecting, but I really liked. It was so well put together that I would almost describe it as an artisanal cheesesteak. What the hell is artisanal? The fact that this cheesesteak cheesesteak is a similar price to the ones you'll find over on Cheesesteak Corner, and yet is much bigger, better, and more creative than any of those, just shows what you can get if you're willing to venture outside Center City. Gabby said that this was her personal favorite. She gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and honestly, same. D'Alessandro's. We headed up to Roxborough, northwest of Center City, to have the best in all of Philadelphia. I won't lie, I didn't think I was going to like this one at all. For being such a small store, they have a very high-tech system in place for how you place your order and how you pick it up. That's how you know this place does business. It takes them like 15 minutes to make your cheesesteak here, which after how the day started, getting that instant cheesesteak over at Pat's just felt like the perfect way to close out the day. The meat here is really finely chopped. That's the thing that made me think I was not going to like this cheesesteak. Comparing it to John's pork, which has these very thick pieces, coming to D'Alessandro's, I didn't have high hopes at all. Let me tell you why I was wrong. The tiny pieces actually get tossed together with the cheese and with the onions to make one fused casserole-like experience. Not only that, but the thing is huge. Because of that, when you end up splitting the price of one between 2 people, now your value skyrockets. Major honorable mention to John's roast pork. Comparing these two sandwiches feels a little like comparing apples to oranges. With John's, you have this incredible artisanal sandwich that feels original, handcrafted, and unique. On the other hand, D'Alessandro's does the typical cheesesteak and takes it to the highest level possible. It is the quintessential cheesesteak made perfectly and with fantastic value. I say they're both my number one. Go to John's roast pork if you want something unique. Go to D'Alessandro's if you want something familiar done well. You gotta tell me where I missed. Where's your favorite cheesesteak place? Where do I have to go on my next visit? What did I get wrong? Which of these cheesesteaks do you hate? Why is D'Alessandro's overrated? I want to hear it all down in the comments below. I love you for watching. My name is Josh. Now let's get lost.